Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John, and before I even begin this video, I just want to say this. My channel is now at 1,010 subscribers. I finally reached that goal of 1,000 subscribers, and for that I say to each and every one of you who is subscribed to me, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I never thought this channel would reach 10 subscribers, much less 1,010, so thank you. And yes, I am going to do some sort of appreciation video in the near future. Just please be patient with me. I'm not sure whether it's going to be a giveaway for like a book or like a gift card, but it is going to be something, okay? So that being said, let's move on to today's subject matter. What is a phobia? A phobia is a deep-seated fear of something. It could be a fear of children, which is pedophobia. That is not to be confused with the other thing, okay? It could be a fear of clowns, which is coulrophobia. All right, and I'm opening my phone up real quick here because I've got notes on my phone. All right. Or it could be a fear of phobias themselves. Did you know that there is a phobia of phobias, which I believe it is called Phobia. I believe that's what it's called. Anyway, the first phobia, what I did basically was I thought to myself, I said, what do you call the fear of this? I looked it up, and then I picked a particular book for each one of these phobias, the 5 phobias that I have listed. All right, so out of 5 of these books, 4 of them are fiction, and 1 of them is nonfiction. All right, so that being said, let's get underway with our first one, which is going to be Ornithophobia, and that is the fear of birds. All right, so for that one, and let me say about that one, the reason I picked that one because is because I presented this idea to Juan over at Plagued by Visions, also Lady Jane Books, and to Working Man Reads, and Juan confessed to me that he has a fear of birds, and he said there's probably not a lot of horror novels about birds. Well, you got to remember, there is The Birds by Daphne du Maurier, there is Bird Box, which I think does have something to do with birds, The Dark Half by Stephen King has something to do with birds. But for this one, I picked The Cormorant, and this is by Stephen Gregory. A young family receives a welcome surprise when old Uncle Ian dies and leaves them a cottage in North Wales. For Ian's nephew and his wife Anne, it seems a stroke of incredible good fortune, enabling them to leave their unfulfilling lives in the city for a newfound freedom in the remote seaside cottage. There's just one catch. Uncle Ian's will has a strange condition. The couple must care for his pet cormorant or forfeit the bequest. They think nothing of it at first. Uncle Ian was eccentric, and the bird is amusing in a way. But when the cormorant begins to show a violent and malevolent side, they soon find that Uncle Ian's gift may not be a blessing, but a curse. And that is for Ornithophobia, and that is The Cormorant, and that is by Stephen Gregory. All right. Next up, we have got, and I hope I am pronouncing these things right, but this one is Taphophobia, and that is the fear of being buried alive. And for this one, I chose a non-fiction book, and this is called Buried Alive, The Terrifying History of Our Most Primal Fear by Jan Bondison, Ph.D. All right. Readers of Edgar Allan Poe's tales just think of the premature burial. may comfort themselves with the notion that Poe must have exaggerated. Surely people of the 1800s could not have been at risk of being buried alive, but such stories filled medical journals as well as fiction, and fear in the populace was high. It was speculated from the number of skeletons found in horrific, contorted positions inside their coffins that 10 out of every 100 people were buried before they were dead. With over 50 illustrations, Buried Alive explores the medicine, folklore, history, and literature of Europe and the United States to uncover why such fears arose and whether they were warranted. And that is Buried Alive, and there's a big long subtitle, The Terrifying History of Our Most Primal Fear. All right. And let's move on. Our next fear is going to be Nyctophobia, and that is the fear of the dark. All right. And for that one, I chose The Dark by James Herbert. I read this a long time ago, and it is a terrifying book. All right. James Herbert, he is one of those authors that I don't think the man ever really published a weak novel. All right. Anyway, that being said, it came like a malignant shadow with seductive promises of power. And somewhere in the night, a small girl smiled as her mother burned. Asylum inmates slaughtered their attendants. In slimy tunnels, once human creatures gathered. And that is The Dark by excuse me, man, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Sorry about that. That is The Dark by James Herbert, and that is for Nyctophobia, the fear of the dark. All right. Okay, so now this one, originally I was going to choose Arachnophobia, but I thought that's too obvious. That's just like low-hanging fruit, okay? So instead of Arachnophobia, I'm going to do one for Entomophobia, and that is the fear of insects. Now, for me, let's talk about this. For me, my insect fear is of wasps, all right? I don't like wasps. They give me the heebie-jeebies. They creep me out when they're around. I don't want to be around them, okay? I think wasps are God's hitmen, okay? You know, I just think they all have a contract out on me, and they just can't wait to fulfill it, all right? But let's not talk about wasps. Let's talk about one that everybody, probably everybody, I mean, there may be somebody out there that loves them. I don't know. If you do, what's wrong with you? But cockroaches. You know, cockroaches just, they get into everything, and they're hard to get rid of. And you know how you go into your kitchen at night and you turn on the light, and just out of the corner of your eye you see the little skitter go away? Ugh, okay. Anyway, for this one, I have chosen The Uninvited, and this is by William W. Johnstone. It was like any other spring day in the quiet, peaceful community of Lapeer Parish, Louisiana. But for Sheriff Vic Ronsonnet, it was the beginning of a nightmare. People were disappearing without a trace. Animals were being eaten right down to the bone. Lush, fertile fields of crops were being stripped bare. But the sheriff knew the evil that lurked in the barns, sheds, and homes of the sleepy parish. He had seen the creatures with his own eyes. He had heard the clicking of their jaws, the signal that they were on the move to feed their ravenous appetites. And if he couldn't stop them, then every man, woman, and child would die, and Lapeer Parish would be wiped off the map. And that is The Uninvited, and that is for Entomophobia. That is the fear of insects. All right. Finally, we have got, and in this day and age, how could I not pick this particular phobia? It is Verminophobia, and that is the fear of germs. All right? And for this one, I picked an oldie but a goodie. I picked I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. And yes, it is about a pandemic. It is about I'll read the synopsis for you. The population of the entire world has been obliterated by a pandemic of vampire bacteria, yet somehow Robert Neville survived. He must now struggle to make sense of what happened and learn to protect himself against the vampires who hunt him nightly. As months of scavenging and hiding turn to years marked by depression and alcoholism, Robert spends his days hunting his tormentors and researching the cause of their affliction. But the more he discovers about the vampires around him, the more he sees the unsettling truth of who is and who is not a monster. And that is I Am Legend, and that is for Verminophobia, the fear of germs. And that is 5 books, and it is, 5 phobias and 5 books. All right. So, that being said, I want you in the comments below, and this is not me trying to get you to, not begging for comments or anything like that. I want to know if you've got a phobia. What is it? Are you scared of the dark? Are you scared of long... There's a fear of long words. Did you know that? And it's a huge phobia. It's like that long. I mean, seriously. All right. Let me know down in the comments what it is that you have a phobia of. All right. And that being said, I'm going to bid you adieu and wish you a good night. And see you later. Take care. And stay scared.